Welcome to NHL Imperialism. How it works is I spin a wheel to select an NHL team. After that, I spin a directional arrow to decide which direction we're headed. If that directional arrow points to either an empty state or province, then said team gets to claim that state or province. If it points towards an occupied state or province, then the two teams will match up and the winner will get the opponent's occupied land. Now let's find out who's going to be the first team to conquer the NHL landscape. And of course, I want to give a big shout out to Dean's World. Link is in the description. He's the GOAT of NFL imperialism, and I just want to make sure he gets his recognition. So here's what the map's looking like before any land's been taken over, and trust me, by the end of this video it's going to look completely different. With our very first spin, Minnesota is going to be the first team taking over some land, and it looks like they're heading directly south, which is going to lead to a free state. Vegas is the next team making some moves, and they're going to be heading northeast, and by heading northeast they're going to be claiming a free state as well. Winnipeg's our next team, and they're going to have a hard time avoiding any team, and with this team heading southeast they're going to be running into the Ottawa Senators. I also want to mention I'm basing the direction where the logo is, so from the logo southeast would be entering Ottawa territory, so Winnipeg, they're going to be matching up against the Ottawa Senators. It was a very close game between these two teams. With the Ottawa Senators, they're going to be coming out on top in a 3-2 win, so they're taking over Manitoba. With Ottawa holding it down at home, they're going to be the first team to enter a territory owned by another team. Minnesota is eager to take some more land, and now they're heading northwest. And based on where the logo is, they're going to be claiming North Dakota. Sticking with the Central Division, the Nashville Predators are up next. But with them heading basically north, they're just going to be claiming a free state as well. It's only a matter of time before we start seeing some more matchups though. In saying that, the Chicago Blackhawks are up next, and they're going to head west, and we already know they're matching up against the St. Louis Blues. And I do want to say, I finished recording this video, I think 2 hours before Ryan O'Reilly got traded. So for this video, O'Reilly's on the St. Louis Blues. I wish he was still on the St. Louis Blues. We're going to miss you, my guy. But since Ryan O'Reilly's still here, we better make the most of it, and we're taking Chicago down 4-1 to claim Illinois. Before we spin the wheel though, a quick word from today's sponsor. I want to give a big shout out to Fanatics for sponsoring this video. Fanatics is the best spot to pick up authentic gear for your favorite team. I can personally say I've used Fanatics a ton for purchasing gear for the St. Louis Blues, which included a Vladimir Tarasenko jersey. So I might need to get a new Vladimir Tarasenko jersey, and I might need to get a Rangers one, and Fanatics is the place I'm going to use. Not only are they the official sponsor of the NHL, but they're also the official sponsor of the NBA, MLB, NFL, and many more. Not only does Fanatics have a fantastic rewards program, but they also have brand new deals every day, so you're going to be getting a great deal. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description and go check out Fanatics and pick up some new gear. And once again, a big shout out to Fanatics for sponsoring this video. The Vegas Golden Knights are eager to claim some more space, but with them heading northwest, they're going to have to take on an NHL team. And which NHL team is that? Well, it's the Anaheim Ducks. And in a massive upset, not only are the Anaheim Ducks going to take down the Vegas Golden Knights, but John Gibson's going to pick up a shutout against these boys. Keep in mind, this is a healthy Vegas team, and they're falling 2-0 to Anaheim. You never know, Anaheim might surprise some people out here. And with that win from Anaheim, they're going to be in the top 3 for most land owned by a team. Detroit decided it's time for them to join the mix, and they're going to be heading directly east. So that means they have a tough matchup on their hand, as they're going to be taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So with less than a minute left, Detroit's down by 1 goal here. What's the most logical thing to do here? Take a penalty. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a penalty with 50 seconds left in the game. But honestly, I think the Leafs paid off the refs, because how was this a penalty? This dude didn't touch him. I'm going to keep it 100 Detroit. You got screwed. But whether they got screwed or not really doesn't matter. Toronto, they're going to be taking over Michigan. Also, if I call a state by the wrong name, I'm Canadian, so I get a pass. The Pittsburgh Penguins are up next, and it's basically guaranteed that they're going to be playing a team because they're surrounded by NHL teams, and they're heading directly east, so we already know they're taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. It was a close matchup between the Penguins and the Flyers, but at the end of the day, Pittsburgh's coming out on top in a 4-3 win, so that means they're claiming the rest of Pennsylvania. We're going to be sticking over in the Eastern Conference, and Buffalo, they're up next, and they're going to be heading directly south, so that means Pittsburgh's going to be involved in another game. And it looks like it's going to be a similar result to the Philly game. Pittsburgh, they're going to score an empty netter, and they're taking the Buffalo Sabres down 3-1. So I do want to mention, it does look like Boston's connected to Pittsburgh now. There is a little gap there that I can see. I know you guys probably can't see it because I can zoom in, but I do have a gap there, so I do know which land is owned by Pittsburgh and which is owned by Boston. Heading back over to the Western Conference, San Jose is up next, and they're definitely getting into a matchup. And with this team heading northeast, we got the Anaheim Ducks. This is a massive game for Anaheim. If they lose this game, they're going to lose all the land they've taken from Vegas, and San Jose, they're going to be in the top 3. With 5 seconds left in the game, Anaheim's going to be losing a crucial faceoff. San Jose is going to gain control of the puck, and they're going to be taking Anaheim down. With that win, San Jose slowly gaining control of the entire West. The greatest franchise of all time without Vladimir Tarasenko and Ryan O'Reilly is currently up next. They're going to be heading south, but that means they're not going to be matching up against anyone as they're claiming a free state. Heading back to the Metro Division, Columbus is up next, and they're going to be heading southwest, so that means we got ourselves a matchup between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Nashville Predators. With time winding down the third period, the game's tied 3-3, so we're heading to our first overtime game. And Nashville, they absolutely dominated overtime. I think they outshot Columbus 12-0 or something. Columbus wasn't doing anything, and this goal by Craig Smith, it's going to be holding it down for Nashville, and Columbus, they're now eliminated. Thinking back on this while I do the voiceover, probably should have chose a different color than yellow, because between Nashville, Pittsburgh, and Boston, it looks like one team owns all this territory. But you know what? It is what it is. And speaking of teams in yellow, Pittsburgh's up next, and they're going to be heading southwest. You would think they'd be matching up against the Nashville Predators, but there is a section of land just under the Penguins logo, so they're actually going to be claiming that, so we don't have a matchup here. I guess this wheel loves teams in the Eastern Conference because the Rangers are up next, and they're going to be heading straight east, and that's going to allow them to claim some free spaces. Okay, not only are we in the Eastern Conference again, but we're also in the Metro Division. I have every single team on here except for the teams that have been eliminated, and we've landed in the Metro Division more than we've landed in the Western Conference. Seems kind of sus if you ask me. Since Washington's going to be heading north, we're going to get a great rivalry matchup as they're taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. But this Penguins team is absolutely locked in, and with Russ scoring the empty netter, they're going to be taking over Washington's territory. The Western Conference is finally getting a bit of love, and we got the Dallas Stars up next, and with them heading northwest, they're going to be claiming a free state right under Colorado and right beside Arizona. The Boston Bruins are up next. They're ready to prove they're one of the best teams in the NHL, but they got their hands full. They're heading south, so that means they're matching up against the New York Rangers. With the game tied 4-4 with seconds left, we're going to be heading to overtime, but we're only heading to overtime because time's running out. Vladimir Tarasenko, he's going to get the feed, and he's going to bury this one in the back of the net, but he's just a second shy of winning this game. But that doesn't matter because early in overtime, Zibanejad is going to Tarasenko. Tarasenko back to Zibanejad. The puck's going to bounce around a bit, and somehow it's in the back of the net, so Rangers, they're holding on to their territory. But a team like Boston falling so early in the video, that just shows that anyone could win. It's about time a Canadian team got some love, and Vancouver, they're ready to make some moves. And I'm making an executive call here. I'm going to say this is slightly southeast. Like, it's basically exactly east, but I'm going to say it's pointed slightly south, like the smallest bit south. So that means they're going to be taking on the Calgary Flames over the Edmonton Oilers. This is a stick on the ice executive decision. I would like to call this an upset, but who really knows because both of these teams have underperformed this season. But Vancouver, they're going to be taking down the Calgary Flames 3-1. So with that win, they're taking over the southern part of Alberta. The Colorado Avalanche are going to be up next, and they're going to be heading slightly southeast. And based on that direction, they're going to have to take on the Dallas Stars. Based on how the NHL is going in real life, you wouldn't consider this an upset. But based on how Colorado is favored in NHL 23, to me, this is a massive upset. The Dallas Stars are going to be taking down the Avs in a 5-2 game. So I think it's safe to say two of the best teams in the NHL are already down. And with that win, Dallas continues their dominance, and they now own the most land. But Nashville's looking to change that. They're going to be heading basically north. So I'm going to say they're taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because if you go north and slightly east of their logo, I think that lines up with Toronto territory more than Pittsburgh territory. The matchup between Nashville and Toronto was a close one. The Leafs, they're going to be coming out in a 3-2 win. So that means they're claiming more land south of the border. Speaking of Canadian teams, the Ottawa Senators are up next. And with them heading west, they're going to be claiming Saskatchewan. But with no NHL team being there, we're moving on. Heading over to the west coast, the Los Angeles Kings are up next. And they don't have a choice. They have to go through San Jose. San Jose owns all the territory around them. So let's see who's coming out of California. And I think it's safe to say that the Los Angeles Kings are not only going to claim all of California, but they're taking all the territory from San Jose. This is a dominant 6-0 game. Oh, sorry. 6-1 game, because that really changes everything. After LA did their thing in the West Coast, it's time to head all the way over to the East Coast and see what the New York Rangers are up to. The Rangers are going to be heading southeast, so that means they're going over to Long Island to take on the New York Islanders. With less than 2 minutes left in the game, Bo Horvat's going to be tucking one past Shesterkin, and he's giving the Islanders the lead. You would think that would be enough, but it's not. Because just seconds later, Lindgren's going to enter the zone, he's going to get the feed, and he's going to beat Sorokin to tie this game up. And that goal right there is going to be enough to force overtime between these two teams. 5 minutes into overtime, Jimmy Vesey is going to be dishing it over to Artemi Panarin, who's going to bury this one in the back of the net, and he's keeping New York alive. Although the Rangers haven't claimed too much territory, they've definitely shown they're a dominant team, taking down two of the best. Well, one of the best in Boston, and the Islanders, who have just seemed to underperform this season. Not too sure about that one. After that huge win by the Rangers, the Minnesota Wild are up next. This team's going to be heading southwest, and once again, they're going to be claiming a free state. Sticking in the Central Division, the Dallas Stars are looking to make some noise, and they're going to be heading northeast, so that's going to have the matchup against the St. Louis Blues, and whoever wins this game is going to control the most territory. With less than 2 minutes left in the game, Mason Marchman's going to dish it over to Radek Faksa, and he's going to bury this one in the back of the net to tie the game up. In overtime, Ryan O'Reilly's going to save the day. He's going to win the face-off. It's going to Justin Falk. Falk's dishing it over to Buchnevich, who's going to bury it in the back of the net, and St. Louis, they're going to survive another day. And like I said earlier, that win's going to allow St. Louis to control the most land. A team we haven't seen yet in the New Jersey Devils is up next. The Arrow's sending them northeast, so they're going to be matching up against a tough New York Rangers team. The New York Rangers aren't ready to fold yet. They're going to win another game, and it's a close one, 3-2, so they're going to be taking over the Devils territory. The Canadian teams are going to get a bit of love as the Edmonton Oilers are up next. It was really only between two teams, Vancouver and Ottawa, and with this team heading east, they're going to be taking on the Ottawa Senators. In an absolute defensive masterclass, the Ottawa Senators are going to come out on top in a low-scoring 7-6 game. With that win, the Senators continue to control Canada as they're entering Alberta. And speaking of the Ottawa Senators, that's who's up next. They're ready to get into another game, and with the team heading southwest, they're heading south of the border and taking on the Minnesota Wild. The momentum from the Ottawa Senators is going to continue. They're taking down Minnesota 3-1, and with that win, by taking over all the territory that Minnesota owned, Ottawa now controls the most land. land. Heading back over to the East Coast, the Rangers are ready to push, and they're moving north. And just north of that New York Rangers logo, that's some Pittsburgh territory, so that's who they're matching up against. Like usual, it's going to be a close game, but the Rangers, we know what they're comprised of, so they're going to be coming out on top in a 2-1 game. That win's going to allow the Rangers to leave their mark, and now they control a bunch of land. And speaking of teams that control a bunch of land, the St. Louis Blues are next, and they're looking to conquer some more. But this time around, it's going to be a lot easier. They're heading directly west, which is going to lead to a free space. We're finally entering Florida, and the Panthers are up next. And although it seems dumb, we actually have to do a wheel spin for them, and they're heading north. The only reason I had to do one was if this team landed on directly west, they would have actually taken on the St. Louis Blues. But it should be no surprise, they're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. We already know the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're one of the most elite teams in the NHL, and they're going to prove that, taking down Florida 3-1. So with that win, Tampa's going to be claiming the rest of Florida. Ottawa's not satisfied with what they have, and they want to conquer some more land in Canada, and by heading southeast, they're going to have a tough matchup, and now they got the Toronto Maple Leafs. It looks like Ottawa got a bit too eager, and they took on the wrong Canadian team. As the Maple Leafs, they're going to take down the Senators 4-3, and they're stealing a bunch of land. With that win from Toronto, not only do they control most of Canada, but they now have the most land. The wheel's finally landing on Tampa, which is going to allow them to do something, but with them heading directly north, they're just going to be claiming a free state. Montreal's tired of sitting back and doing nothing, so now they're ready to enter the mix, and they're going to be heading directly west, which is going to lead to them matching up against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we already know this is going to be a tough matchup for them. Similar to Ottawa, I think Montreal's taken on the wrong team, as the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be taking them down 5-3 to take control of all of Quebec. With that win by Toronto, they now control all the territory in Canada except for that little section Vancouver holds. Also, can we talk about how Seattle, Arizona, and Carolina have made it into the top 9 and haven't done anything? They've been sitting here the entire video and now we're in the top 9. So it's about time that one of these teams gets involved, and that's going to be Seattle, but they're just going to be heading directly south, so they're claiming a free space. This isn't what I meant by getting involved. You have to do what Toronto's doing. They're taking on team after team, and now they're ready to take on another, and they're heading directly south, and that's going to be a good matchup because we got the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the New York Rangers. Although Toronto controls way more land than the Rangers, they just don't have the grit and heart that the Rangers do, as they're going to be falling in a 2-1 game. That win from the Rangers is going to be a massive difference maker, as they control way more land than anyone else. The next closest is St. Louis, and St. Louis just can't compete with the Rangers right now. And speaking of the St. Louis Blues, they're up next, and they're going to be heading southwest. And since they're heading southwest, they're taking on the Arizona Coyotes, a team that hasn't done anything yet. For some reason, St. Louis always seems to struggle with the Arizona Coyotes, and we're struggling right now as this game's going to be headed to overtime. But when the games matter most, that's when St. Louis performs. Torpachenko's dishing it over to Pitlick, who's going to slide over to Nathan Walker, and he's going to tuck it into the net, and we're taking down Arizona. A win like that is definitely going to put pressure on LA, as St. Louis and LA are now touching. Tampa's got another opportunity to claim some land, but with them heading directly north once again, they're just going to be claiming a free space. The lone Canadian team left in Vancouver is up next, and they're going to be heading south, so they're taking on the Seattle Kraken. Alright, so I'm a complete idiot. Seattle's winning this game 3-1. We can clearly see that on screen. For some reason, I marked this down as a Vancouver win. I have zero clue why I marked this down as a Vancouver win, because on the wheel, you can see Seattle's still there. So I took Vancouver off of the wheel because I knew they lost, but when I filled out the map, I put it as Vancouver won. Hopefully that doesn't have a major impact on this video. We're staying in the Pacific Division. The Los Angeles Kings are up next, and they're heading southeast. And with this team heading southeast, they're going to have to take on the St. Louis Blues. And we already know what the St. Louis Blues team is about. They're absolutely elite, and they're going to be taking down the Los Angeles Kings 4-1. And with that win from St. Louis, not only did they claim all of California, but now they're putting pressure on the Vancouver Canucks, who should be the Seattle Kraken. And St. Louis doesn't want to sit back. They're going to continue to push, and now they're heading northeast. And now we got the biggest matchup of the video, the St. Louis Blues taking on the New York Rangers. This is a battle for basically 90% of the land. But it looks like time's finally run out for the St. Louis Blues. The New York Rangers, they're taking us down 3-1, and I can guarantee if we had Vladimir Tarasenko on our team, we would have taken the Rangers down. That's without a doubt. They needed a member of the St. Louis Blues to beat us. We didn't need a member of the Rangers to beat them. And as we know, with that win, the New York Rangers, they're going to control 90% of the land. So I don't know what upsets me more, the fact that the New York Rangers just beat the St. Louis Blues, or the fact that Carolina made it farther than the St. Louis Blues and have just been sitting there the entire video. These boys haven't done anything. The Seattle Kraken, also known as the Vancouver Canucks, are up next, and they got to take on the New York Rangers. They literally don't have a choice. I guess you can claim that free space, but it's only a matter of time before you have to take on this Rangers team. And luckily, that screw up by me isn't going to be impacting anything. The New York Rangers, they're taking down the Vancouver Canucks, and they continue to dominate the entire league. So here's what the map looks like now. The New York Rangers control absolutely everything. Carolina owns that little section, and Tampa owns their little section. Stick on the ice executive decisions happening right now. The Carolina Hurricanes, you don't get to play the New York Rangers right now. No, the New York Rangers are getting a pass all the way to the final. Carolina has to get through Tampa in order to play the Rangers. You know why? Because they've done nothing this entire video. They've made it into the top 3 and have just sat there the entire video. No more waiting. You have to perform. And in Carolina's first appearance of the video, they're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this game, it's heading to overtime. And with about a minute left in the first overtime, Slavin, he's going to take a shot on net. Svechnikov's picking up the rebound and he's putting it in the back of the net, and I'm sick to my stomach. This team has won 1 game so far, and here we are in the final of NHL Imperialism, and Carolina's taking on the New York Rangers to win it all. And in the final game, to prove who's the best team in the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to smoke the New York Rangers 6-0. This team played 2 games in the entire video and won both of them. I've never been more upset with an outcome in a video before. The Carolina Hurricanes did not deserve this. Granted, this is a very good team, but they won 2 games in this entire video. How many did the Rangers win? They must have won at least 6. The St. Louis Blues, they won what, 5 or 6? I'm not too happy with this outcome. We might have to run it back one day.